Welcome, week 3. So this week is about reflective reframing, all in threes. Interesting. But yeah, so before we go on, just a bit of a quick recap. First week we did our brain dumping, which is when there's no structure on how you write. You just write whatever's on your mind, what's going on. I've actually, I've got a journal book, one that I've written in. Some of it is brain dumping, some of it is basically what we're going to work on today, the reflective reframing. That's the nice word, but we'll break it down as we go on. But I mean, it's basically just scribbles, and even there you can see I've circled few words. Anyway, we'll get into that a little bit more next week. But okay, so the first week was brain dumping. Perfect way to start the journaling. And then the second week was gratitude journaling, and it's, you know what, apart from just the gratitude, it's just rewiring your brain and putting your focus, your attention into somewhere else, a more positive outlook on life, especially when you have all these challenges. Once you start retraining your brain, new neural pathways are formed. There's neuroplasticity that's also taking place. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you're welcome to revisit, or for the first time, watch week 2. And so this is week 3, so we're going to do 4 weeks. So if you are interested and like the series, please subscribe so that you will be notified for the next episode for next week. And there's many things more that I would talk about, but I'm getting off topic now, so let's just get in back. Week 3, reflective reframing. So this is all about, okay, so we've written everything down. And now we are moving into a space where we start to reflect on what exactly is this situation showing me. What is it teaching me? So the core question I would like to ask you with this video is, what is this experience teaching me? Okay, so there you will notice that once you start to journal, you are actually coaching yourself. As you are seeing things that happen to you, you write it down, and then now this is where the reflective part comes in. You take a step back and you reflect on what you've just written. Okay, so but before we go to the third step, this is a very important moment, because, and like I said also in the previous videos, when you do handwriting, your brain slows down, you're focusing on one thing at a time. And I've talked about the theta and the alpha brain waves, the learning and the memory, motor skills, letter forming, when every selection and curve and line, it's all kind of like therapeutic for the brain. It slows it down. And there's also a lot of prefrontal cortex activation. We talked about this, about the emotional regulation, the insight that you get from there. So there's a lot of stuff happening in the brain when you do the handwriting. So, and also because your nervous system is starting to relax, your whole system is slowing down, you are able to pause, and then subtly there's embodiment and wisdom starting to integrate. Um, because we've also talked about the amygdala, that lower part of the brain, the fight and flight mode. When that is in constant motion, it's difficult to tap into this emotional intelligence that we have, because there's you are so busy with fight and flight, you're so busy surviving, you didn't really take a moment to really to delve deep into that emotional intelligence that you have, the capacity, all of that, to start tapping in a little bit more subtle realms of the brain. So, and when you type, it's typing, you press a button, there's no hand formation or physical somatic experience. It's just ding, 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 typing, typing, typing. It's a block that goes down, and technology takes it further. There's nothing for you really to do. But when you handwrite, there's circles, there's lines, there's dots, there's might be exclamation marks, full stops, all of that. So there's patterns forming, not just a block that you press down. So there's a lot happening in the brain. So anyway, so what reflective reframing is good at, so let's say for instance there was an event in your life and you are really having some difficulty dealing with it. You don't understand what really is happening. So instead of you reacting immediately, this is what you can do. You take your pen and paper. By the way, these are my pens and crayons and color things. So yes, we can talk about this next week. But so yeah, you can take your pen, paper, you get a book. I actually have another book which I'll also talk to you about next week. There's too much to do today, and I don't want to get off topic. And there I go again. So going back, pen, paper. So go back to the event. Then you start writing down the facts. Facts, not attaching any emotional involvement into the fact, only facts. Okay? And then the second part is when you take a step back, maybe take a few breaths, and then as you start immersing yourself or you become still, just see what comes up in your mind. There might be some insight, response, or awareness, or things that's answers. Write that down, okay? So you've taken a step back, you became still, you wrote those things down, and then maybe in there's some answers to, or reflection comments on the facts that you just wrote them down. And then be with that, write them down. And then the third step is, okay, and then before you write the third step, maybe take a few breaths again and see what is integrating, what is starting to percolate, and what insights you are having, how you're feeling, all those things. And then the third step is write something down, a conscious and a response to this event that is filled with awareness. and it comes from a place of this stillness, that you actually sat with the events that have happened, what your take on it is, and then what response would you give to this situation. So what this does, it gives you time to really take a step back and not become too emotional attached, because you saw the facts and there's no emotional stuff connected to the fact. It's plain facts. There's nothing about it. And then the inside is something that is something that came from you, no one else. So look at it. Just give it a few goes. See how it goes. And this is where wisdom comes in. This is where embodiment starts to take over, and not the fight and flight mode, but actually the bigger part of the brain. For instance, if I can give you an example, and I think many of us can relate to this, because it's happened to me quite a bit. And if you send someone an email or a WhatsApp and there's no response. Okay, so this can be either a work colleague or a friend. Usually when it's a friend, there might be stronger emotions involved. I don't know. It depends on the situation. But it's just an example. So you've sent the mail or the WhatsApp, it went out. If you send a WhatsApp, usually there's like blue ticks. If that person has opened the message and read it, okay, then that's WhatsApp. Okay, but you don't get a response immediately. Okay, and then you wait, and then the next day, still no response, and it's getting a little bit long. And for this person, it's not always, how can I say, it's not like them to do this. But anyway, okay, so now you start to feel very uneasy about the whole thing, and you start forming little stories in your mind. You're making stories. And now you're starting to feel a little bit aggressive, a bit negative, and you don't understand what's going on. Okay, so now you go, wait. So, okay, then you get an answer quite a long time after you've sent the message, and the answer is just very short, a short answer. Okay, and now you're thinking, okay, but I waited like 3 days for an answer like this. What's up with that? Anyway, so so now you're making all these stories, you become unhappy, and it starts to influence your daily behavior. So now, like this, now you go to your pen and paper, your space that you've, where you usually journal, write your facts. So and so and so and so. Take a moment to breathe, become still, see what comes up, and if any answers or reflections or comments come up, you write that down. Take another moment to slow down, and then you write a response, or then you write how you should react to this. What is the from a place of stillness, it makes a huge difference. You know what? And I always say something that's always with me. So, and I think you can also take that into this exercise. There's 3. There's my truth, how I experience things. Then there can be the second party's, or the third party's truth, second party, their truth. My truth and their truth might not correlate, or at that moment was not aligned. But then there's the middle one, and that is the actual truth. And the actual truth is, it happened, it's not good, it's not bad. How you see the experience, how you label it, that's where the problems start. So, I don't know, take it or leave it, but that's usually with a situation like that. When you've got the facts and you are being objective, that's the middle part, that's the middle truth. That is what happened. Your emotions got the better of you, that's why you think it's their truth as well. But it might not be. They might have had an accident. They might have, they might have gotten sick, or something could have happened that prevented them from replying to you immediately. You never know. That's where this truth comes in. You don't know what their truth is, or in that specific situation, and they don't know what your truth is. So there's only the middle ground, which is the facts, the actual what has happened. Okay, so you can look at it things like that as well, and that's where you start to become, where you take a step back and everything becomes, you become an observer. That situation becomes, you look at it from an objective point of view. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah. So that could help with that. But what this is, what it also helps with the nervous system is pause. You write, you pause, you see the perspective, you gain perspective, emotional intelligence. You're tapping into the more the prefrontal cortex of the brain, not just the amygdala, which is the fight and flight, but you go a little bit deeper. And then the response to that can be an empowered response, an intelligent response, instead of just saying the first thing that comes to mind. And the more you do this, the more it will influence your decision making on the long run, especially in those situations where you don't have the luxury of maybe sitting down and reflect, but you have to give more of an immediate reaction. So by doing this more constantly over a long stretch of time, the more it will empower you to be able to make decisions from the emotional intelligence space in the brain, instead of the quick fight and flight response. It takes time. It's not going to be weeks. It's not going to be, well, it might be months. But after years, you will see the, you know what, it will take probably months. It's one of those things. You never know if you just start doing it. That's actually the point. If you say, no, I don't feel like it, it's going to take too long, then no. Just start doing it, and then you will see the results yourself. But there's all the scientific research that has gone into it. And the point of this is you will start to understand yourself much better. You will have wisdom, embodied emotional regulation. Your nervous system will be able to cooperate with you more, not be in a constant fight and flight mode, but having a nervous system regulation method you can create yourself. So try it. Choose one challenge. See how it sits with you. What comes up. You might be you might be very surprised at what's going on. You know. So and I find this whole journey quite interesting because from the brain dumping to the gratitude, and gratitude is very important because that's how you retrain your brain, rewire your brain already. So, and then coming to this, you've already started rewiring your brain on how you look at things, and now to have the reflection part, you are going to reflect on things much differently because you've already started retraining your brain. So there's a natural progression to this all. Anyway, and as I said, I can't wait to do next week because there's lots of things that I would like to share with you on my personal journey with journaling. But yeah, so next week we will look at materials being used or how we can integrate journaling into a daily rhythm for a deeper self-connection without taking a lot of time. And I think that's about it. Again, please subscribe if you want to be notified of the next episode. And if you do want to know more, go onto my website, subscribe to my newsletter, and what I can also say is that on my online membership, we do journaling on a very regular basis. So all my members, they are very aware of the effects of journaling. So yeah, so there are many ways of reaching out to me. Like I said, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, you can subscribe to my newsletter, and then you can join my membership. So lots of options. And in the meantime, I look forward to seeing you next week. I hope you've had a good journey so far, and you are learning a lot of things, you're experiencing new things, and yeah, 2026 has been very kind to you. Okay, so be kind to yourself, be kind to everyone around you, and lots of blessings, and I will connect with you again next week. Namaste.